Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cameras and Coffee. And last week really got away from us. That was it was here and then done rather quickly. So there is a bunch to talk about today. I have three very exciting things to talk about. The first one is that I got an email from the film and camera company Lomography last week, and they've selected me to be a tester of one of their new upcoming film emulsions. I haven't gotten it yet, so I don't know which one it's going to be, but they said I'm a-okay to talk about it here on my YouTube channel, and so I'm very excited. Both of the two emulsions on paper sound really good. So I understand that I will get one 35mm roll. I'll take photos of it with it. I'll get to discuss it. Hopefully some of them turn out well enough that they're interested in using them in some of their marketing materials. That would be very neat. At any rate, so I am extremely excited about that. I know it doesn't sound that way. That's just how I talk. But yes, this is huge for me. I actually spent an entire day trying to figure out what I'm going to photograph with my one roll of film. So at any rate, I know I have figured it out, and I'm very excited about that too. So, second exciting piece of news. The camera that has been most requested for a video manual for the last year and a half, 2 years, is a 4x5. And it has taken a while for it to get here, but it has. This is the Intrepid Mk IV 4x5 camera, and I bought it used, so I didn't have to wait the full delivery time. That was nice. But that is, I'm not going to put the whole thing together just because I'll have to take it apart, of course, then. But this is it. I am really impressed by how small and how lightweight it is. It is, I haven't held it up next to my Ghibellini for a point-by-point comparison, but the Ghibellini's lens boards are the same size as the outer diameter of this the wood part of this front standard. So the front of this is much smaller, and I think, and I would, yeah, definitely the back of it is much smaller than the Ghibellini. So it's also lighter. So I'm really looking forward to getting to use this as soon as the lens boards that I'm having made arrive. So very happy about this. And yes, I will be doing a full 2-part video manual about this camera, as well as doing a full video review with sample photos and a narrative. The things that some of you, the video type that some of you guys really enjoy. So at any rate, so those are two very exciting. How does this go back on? This box is not square. That's fascinating. Okay, so the third thing that we have to talk about today is the second part of the Lens Rentals article, and I was really glad to see that it came out on June 12th, and so I read through it, and there were some things in here that I found incredibly surprising. They tested a boatload of SLR style cameras, ones that are not designed specifically for cinema. And so they tested Canons and Sonys and Panasonics. And the results that they got, if you remember from what we talked about last time with the spread of flange focal distance accuracy, with the SLR style cameras that they tested, same general spread. That said, in all of the SLRs, they tended to skew a little bit more towards the actual flange to sensor distance being a little bit less, like a few hundredths of a millimeter less than with than being spread evenly, but there was still a bit of a range. There were two incredibly interesting things in this article that directly go to things from my last Cameras and Coffee video, as well as comments in the video. Now, the first one, there was a comment in the video about how IBIS, in-body image stabilization, would affect flange to sensor distance, and they tested that. And one of the things that what they found was that it doesn't affect it. So cameras, when they turned them on, used the image stabilization and then remeasured them over and over and over again. They were consistently displaying the exact same flange to sensor distance, and if they were off by a few hundredths of a millimeter, they were consistently off by a few hundredths of a millimeter each time. So what that says is that the IBIS systems are incredibly well designed in terms of their ability to keep the sensor at the exact correct place. I believe those things are all done with magnets, and so it would stand to reason that they would perform consistently as long as the power going to the magnets remains consistent. They also indicated that the biggest issues they had with these weren't to do with the flange focal distance, and they weren't to do with the image stabilization. But on some of their cameras, the testing uncovered that they had broken image sensor mounts, and no one ever complained about them. The cameras were performing just fine, and they have some pictures in here taken by some of the techs of some of the internal, what would be considered micro damage to some of these cameras, but things that, if you asked me 24 hours ago, would breaking an image stabilizer mount cause a camera to malfunction? Would you get error messages? Would the images be soft or have corners that were out of focus? I would have said, heck yeah. No one noticed. And what it says is that our cameras are way, way, way more robust than we realize, but they're also way more tolerant of minor issues than we realize. And the last really interesting thing that they said in here, at least really interesting, I mean, the whole article is a very interesting read, and there's a lot of really good information in it. But they came to the conclusion later in the article that flange to focal distance accuracy doesn't matter. For still images, for any camera that you and I are going to buy, because there are not as hard a stop at the infinity focus for the lenses, and most lenses on mirrorless and SLR cameras focus slightly beyond infinity anyway, which I didn't know. And I mean, I know some of them, like the Brightin Star that I'm filming with right now, does. It focuses way beyond. A lot of third-party lenses do, but a lot of my OEMs don't seem to, but could be wrong. At any rate, doesn't really matter if they're off by 5/100ths of a millimeter. They had the they were testing these things, and they plotted them with flange to sensor distance errors of up to 1/10 of a millimeter, which is way beyond what I would have thought would have been within tolerance. I would have thought 3, maybe 4 at the most hundredths of a millimeter. So cameras are tough stuff. They always have been, but not always. I guess in the 90s and early 2000s, many of them weren't quite as tough. 80s as well. But at any rate, cameras coming out today, especially the good ones like their testing, which were Sony A7, A6000, Canon 1DX, and the Panasonic models. I'm not in any way familiar with those, so just a second. They were testing Panasonic's, Olympuses, and Blackmagics, and they're all pretty well made. So, and a lot of these had gotten pretty heavy use, and ranging between around 50 some odd to 160 days in the field, which means shipping back and forth, different people using it different ways. Rental cameras get pretty heavy use. So at any rate, there's a link to that article in the video description. Really interesting, very good read, and well worth it. And other than that, that's what we had to cover today. So I'll be back on Wednesday, fingers crossed, with another Cameras and Coffee. And I hope that this month you enjoy all of the hike videos that are going to be coming out. And we'll get back to some of the camera manuals once I can get back into the studio space, because I think I have uploaded every single one of those that I've recorded at this point. So I'm just out. But anyway, have a good day, everyone. Have a good Monday, and I'll see you next time. Right, Steinbeck?